trying to hide that. You be more, you be. Settle. Tell me the you. Why you trying to? Know you. Why you trying to?
Testing. 1, 2. I'm joking. What's up? How's it going? I hope you are doing fantastic. I am just super delighted to be here with you, with all of you, and so grateful. So, without further ado, this is the first Airwalk Talks. I have never really done a podcast before. This is my first time, so bear with me. I think we will have a lot of fun on this journey as we, go on it together. So, first of all, what is an Airwalk Talks? It's just a very chill session. You, me, together here in this very beautiful moment, and we're basically I just want to talk to you like insider about like each and every skit that I make, because one of the biggest issues that I saw was like I would see a skit on YouTube and I'm like, wow, this was very entertaining. And I would go back and watch it again and I'm like, yep, I was right. This is very entertaining. But the thing is, I didn't know how they did certain things, and like most of these skits are made with just one person, so one man band or one woman band as well, So it was, I always had these questions. I was like, okay, well, how did they get this angle? How did they know the focus was right? How did blah 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 blah? And like, where did the skit idea happen? How did it come from? Where was it born? I had all of these questions and none of the answers. So I feel like that's something that I can provide with my own skits, and I just, yeah. So we're gonna try this. I feel like this is gonna work out pretty freaking well. So let's talk about Sunday school. All right, let me pull up the video, and I just kind of want to talk about like, just like literally from the idea all the way to the final product. And that's the journey that we're going to embark on today. So, Sunday school. Wow. This is so crazy. This basically stemmed from like religion and like the way I was raised, basically. And my family was very, very into the religious stuff, and they were like Christians, and we were like super instrumental in the church. I'm pretty sure they like built a church with like their friends and whatnot. And it was definitely an interesting experience being a preacher's kid. So there's that, and it was just like all of this religion everywhere around me all the time. It was like God and Jesus and this and that. And recently I went to I want to say like a show, and it was with these people called Super Mega, and the way they responded to like their very Christian upbringing, and like the way they responded to it was just very instrumental in my perspective. It was very instrumental in my perspective, and the way I can like actually like talk about how that has affected me now. And I mean, I'm not really religious these days, so it was very interesting just looking back on my childhood with all of this hindsight, and that's basically my response to it. And I feel like there are other people out there as well who might find this this like satirical perspective on Christian religion. And yeah, so there's that. That's basically where this idea stemmed from. And there's like so much stereotypes with like the preachers and like how they act, and And I just wanted to play with these caricatures and just basically, put them into characters. And this was my first skit. Well, I mean, I did the rapper game show one, but I feel like I can't really take too much credit for that one. So, I mean, it was just a tribute to Darius Benson. But yeah, this one I would consider my very first, like, legit skit. And it's so, yeah, let's just talk about the, so basically I was like, okay, so there needs to be characters, and I wanted one of the characters to be very grounded in reality, and this one is almost like it is me. Like, that's probably the one that's most like me. And then the preacher character, I created him, and I wanted him to be, basically like the stereotype of the evangelical. I don't know that word, but anyways, like the very like overabundant and like super energetic preacher. And I just had a lot of people like that in my life, back when I was growing up. And so I created that character, and it was really cool to see the dichotomy between the grounded character and this preacher. And I included the pianist mostly because I thought I was gonna create like I was gonna do all the kids as well, but I just did not feel like doing that. I felt like that was a lot of work, and sometimes there's just a lot more power that goes into not showing the audience and just letting that suspension of disbelief that I've already established kind of grow and flourish on its own. Kind of like if you plant a seed, you don't want to like water it every single day. Like, it'll probably just drown because you overfed it. And it's the same thing with like the suspension of disbelief. I didn't want to continue to like try to be like, yeah, we're in a church. Like, the audience probably already understood that by the point of like, I believe it's the second frame, the second shot. The first shot is a keyboard shot, and the second shot, boom, right there, it is just the cross necklace. And I feel like that, boom, already, audience knows we are in a church, and the entire like environment has been established. So that's that with the characters, really. So continuing on, so we've already looked at the first shots. First, I also want to like talk about like the closed captioning, but I think I'll talk about that later when we get to the editing portion of it. Shooting this, it was crazy. I don't know how many of y'all have like actually tried to make skits or like act with yourselves. It's not easy. Like, it is not easy. It's so hard to try to like keep these characters separate of one another. I mean, I don't have like a split personality type thing in my brain, so it was just pretty hard for me. I always been about like balance and like balancing out my different personalities, and like like who you are with your mom probably isn't going to be the same you that's around your friends or around your teacher, maybe. I mean, but so yeah. I was gonna actually talk about shooting it, but I forgot about one super quintessential thing, which is writing. And like, I didn't know how difficult this was gonna be, writing this skit, but boy, oh boy, was it was a challenge. It was like, I'm trying to pull it up, but I don't even know where it is. Oh, I found it. Cool. So basically, there is, like, I went to film school. Well, I went to a college and I majored in film and like media arts and things of the like. So I learned like the actual like proper way of writing scripts, the way that like other people will be able to understand what I'm talking about, what I'm trying to communicate, what my vision is. It's super useful, definitely, when you need to communicate it to someone else, but it also takes a lot of time. So in this scenario where there is no one else to communicate to other than myself, this is this is a very specific like situation. So all I needed to do really was to write triggers, or just enough to trigger the image that I had in my head. And before I even write something, I usually already have painted like 3/4 of the picture of how this video is gonna go. So yeah. So the first thing is I just wrote church sounds, then piano music under, and I just put asterisks in between that. And then I was like, the pastor fades in, and then I started writing his dialogue, and it was, even after nap time, you gotta know it takes one to what? Yes, no one. And whenever I'm writing these dialogues for the characters, I try to keep it as natural as I can. And if I can't keep it natural, I just have to have faith that my acting will like actually deliver the line, and maybe not word for word, but I want to deliver the message. Because just because you write something in your dialogue doesn't mean it needs to be said word for word. It's the message that's important. It's the thing that the audience needs to get out of that line that you wrote. So I just it's a lot of faith here. Like, I had to believe in myself. Jeez. I'm joking. I believe in myself. Otherwise I wouldn't be here. Thank you so much for being here. Anyway, so I did that for the pastor, and then I even wrote in like the filler audio for the crowd because I felt like that would help build the actual diegesis of the environment that I'm in. For those of you who don't know what diegesis is, it's just anything that's diegetic is something that helps. It's something in the story that or video that helps build the actual environment, you know, and the believability that you are in that environment. And in short, I mean, or at least in my words, I would say that diegesis is the word that sums up suspension of disbelief. And they are like nearly synonymous, to me at least. But yeah, after I wrote the pastor's lines, I didn't actually write any lines for the main character because I didn't know that I was actually going to be doing the internal dialogue, mental inside the main character's head type dealio, you know. So I started editing. I shot the video. I started editing, and I was like, this isn't it. So I went back and I looked at the script, and then in between the different spots where I thought, okay, I want the main character. I know this is how the main character is reacting via his actions, but how would you communicate that to the audience via internal dialogue? So either way, after I actually filmed everything, shot it, edited it, I was like, okay, I needed dialogue for this person because the video wasn't carrying enough of the message that I wanted to send. So I decided to go back and reshoot. And that's the one thing that I haven't actually been super experienced with, because usually not to flex or anything, but whenever I go out for a shoot, I get what I need to get and I'm done. Like, that's it. Like, that's all I need to do. So it's just, it was very new to me, to say the least. Shooting it was, like I said, it was a challenge. Everything was a challenge. And I mean, that's part of the reason I liked it. And this part of the reason why I did it is it was challenging me in my filmmaking skills. I've always filmed other people, like documentaries or narrative films, but I've never really like filmed myself. And if I did, it was for a vlog, which is a completely different media literacy. And I want to talk about media literacy, but that's going to be on a different episode. Whew, so many things to say. I love it. I think the absolute hardest part for me was trying to abide by this thing called the 180 rule. And basically, the 180 rule is if you have two characters, the camera's not going to put character one on the right side of the frame and then put character two also on the right side of the frame whenever you're cutting back and forth between them. That would just create a whole lot of empty space on the left side of the frame. So the 180 rule says that there's basically a line, the eye line between character one and character two. The camera can't move in a full circle past that line. There's essentially only a semicircle, and whichever side you decide character one to be on, character two is going to be on the opposite side. Otherwise, it is completely disorienting to the audience. And typically, YouTubers don't really care about that. Instagram posts, videos, all the things like this. It's just, it didn't really matter too much. If there were any rules in filmmaking that you would break, 180 is probably going to be the rule that you break first. But in this case, it's completely different because I'm the only actor. So I need to be able to suspend my audience's disbelief. And I want them to believe that there are two characters. And the best way to do that is by abiding by this 180 rule. But let me tell you, it was so hard because I don't have a subject to just like be behind the camera and like frame me correctly, nor can I be in front of the camera and then frame it correctly while I'm behind the camera. So I had to like really mentally visualize where these characters were going to be in the space that they were at, and I needed to stay true to that. And that's one thing that I kind of did not get right. And I mean, I got better at it eventually. But that is probably one of the most difficult things to do when it's just a one person video. And I feel like no one's talking about this. And I don't understand why. Maybe it's because I'm not like part of that community and nobody like really makes these videos in my friend group other than me. So it's just, woo, that one was hard. So abiding by the 180 rule was probably the hardest part whenever I was shooting this video, because my character, the pastor character, was actually looking to the left of the frame, right? So therefore he was placed in the right side of the frame. And then, this is where I messed up. The main character, we have him also on the right side of the frame and looking to the left side of the frame, which almost took myself out of the video. I'm not sure if that's how it worked for other people, like my audience, but that is what happened when I disobeyed the 180 rule. So another important thing that I almost always forget about is audio. And audio is so important. Like, if there wasn't any audio, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast right now. But there is audio. So, uh, at this point in time, I was still trying to figure out the best way to record audio with this video, and I didn't have any like lavalier, which is just a very tiny microphone that you like clip on. That's usually what you would see in news or like documentaries whenever they're doing the interviews. I didn't have one of those accessible to me at that time, so all I had was either the camera audio or the shotgun microphone that's on the top of the camera. You know, the little fuzzy thing. We call it a dead cat. But yes. I think I heard the refrigerator in the back of this video, like in the background noise, and I was like, "Oh no, I can hear it." So I had to tweak the audio a lot. Like I spent probably too much time on it. I mean, like dang near like an hour, maybe just 30 minutes, but it felt like an hour because I was just listening to like the same thing over and over again. I was like, this room tone, this background noise is it's just not it. It's not it. I'm trying to like delete it out, but also like not make me sound like I'm an alien from Mars. It was definitely really, really difficult, and eventually I actually had to go back and reshoot for so it was a day 2 shoot, and geez, was that hard. I was like, oh no, now I have to make sure the lighting is like as close to like the day 1 lighting as possible. And it was just all of these brand new challenges that I was not used to in my experience. And I mean, I have shot narrative films, but like that was someone else's job to maintain that continuity, make sure that the characters, like if they had a scar on their left cheek, then it needs to be on the left cheek 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, you know? And just all of this stuff. And the time in between each and every shot is actually quite ridiculous. It feels like the entire video is just happening right there in that moment. But realistically, it took like, I would like to say like 2 hours to shoot, but it took 2 hours per day to shoot. So that's ultimately like 4 hours of shooting for just a 2 minute and 23-second video. That is ridiculous, honestly. Okay, so the audio, boom, finally figured it out. And now let's talk about something that's really important, which is the editing. And before I even talk about like a whole bunch of the editing stuff that I did, I want to say that like nowadays everything is so fast paced. It's just thing after thing after thing after thing. Our attention spans are fleeting. They are so short, it's ridiculous. If you ever go back and watch a movie that was made in the 1960s, 70s, those cuts are going to be way slower. So the time in between, like the time that a whole frame or shot is shot, is just gonna last like probably like 7 seconds, maybe even 8 or 9. But if you go and watch like any movie from the mid 2000s up till like now, those things are just so fast. It's like maybe 3 seconds long, and that's less than half of the time that it used to be. And this is the content that I'm creating is short form content. So I really needed to stay true to this like fast paced, short attention span editing style. And that means there has to be a lot more shots in the actual video, which means that it's going to up the actual production time and the post production time. So that being said, I had to keep all of that in mind, and I wanted to stay with a similar pace throughout the entire video. So I think my shots are, I can look at it right now. So I had, whenever the preacher is talking, he was holding the shots for about 5 seconds, maybe 4, maybe 6, but anywhere between 4 to 6 seconds. But because it was only reactionary shots from the main character, he only had 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds worth of screen time. So it was just super important. It's super important to direct the audience's attention to where you want them to focus. That is so crucial. And I don't think you can make any kind of funny video without that skill. It's so integral to the content being created. So moving towards the end of this video, we have these certain qualities of what used to be Vine. And the interesting thing about Vine is that they created this completely new media literacy, which again, I will talk about in the next video or another video. But yeah, the media has changed so much and there's a different way to talk about it. So just I included different aspects of that type of media and that type of content and tried to integrate it with my own unique film style, which everyone has their own unique film style. And I highly encourage you, if you want to create things like this, to go out, find it, experiment, have fun, do whatever you want to do, because sometimes the dumbest idea turns out to be the most, the idea that stands out the most, the one that gets you known, the one that distinguishes you, the thing that makes you unique. But yes, this culmination towards the end of the video, I needed to choose a song that was obviously royalty free, copyright free, and I just ended up choosing this song that had more of like this, almost like an earthy African type, but still modern trap hip hop mixture. That way it's not too outlandish, not too gospel, and just not too modern. I wanted to just healthily mix everything together. Even though the character wanted to leave midway through the video, he ended up starting to like the actual Sunday school with the children, and then the music comes on, and then it would get lit, and then he was really picking up the vibes, and I really wanted to put like a nice little plot twist on there. But before I even get to that, this is the point where I was really excited about the pastor character, because I wanted him to really portray that very upbeat, energetic, bass and snare like moment in church whenever everybody's just going crazy over like the Holy Spirit and the Holy Ghost and this and that. And I was really excited to film that. It was super fun. It was just, I love that part. I love this part of the video. And then he's just going at it. And then even the pianist is like dancing as well. I wanted to like integrate modern dancing, or, you know, like doing the dab, but nobody does that. But he hit the whoa, the pianist, and that was just a nice little touch that I tried to integrate in there, and really like try to connect to the audience with something that is familiar, that's something that they do know, something that they will encounter in their everyday life. That way that the video is more realistic, a little bit more grounded in reality, a lot more relatable. And that is like one of the biggest things. If it's not relatable, then it almost feels like you're watching a movie from outside the window of a house. Could you imagine trying to watch Frozen 2 and you just standing outside the house looking through a window and you're like, what are they talking about? I see snow. They walk in. I don't really know what's going on. Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. So I really try to hone in on that relatability. I feel like that's where a lot of comedy comes from. And then if you take that relatability and then just like turn it on its head and then put a plot twist, boom. So I really, really tried to I really tried to make that plot twist like hit, and this was my first time trying this, so it didn't go nearly as smooth as I wanted it to, but I still think that Sunday school came to a really nice ending where he was like, let's all go to recess, and he's like, what? I'm never gonna go to the adult service again. I felt like it was a goofy way of saying just like, why you gotta be serious all the time? You don't actually have to learn something. And it was just like all of these different messages just in full culmination. That was a lot of words. Woo! That's basically the entire thought process behind the scenes, well, director, actor, behind the scene type thing from your boy. And that was a lot of words. I've been talking for a while. Thank you for hanging out. Literally, bro, why you're here, I'm here, we're here. Just takes a little bit of time. Just take a little bit of time. Appreciate what's going on, where you are, the fact that you're breathing, the fact that I'm breathing, and the fact that we about to get some more clout, because you know what? We out here. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the support. I'm so glad that you're here. If you weren't here, then I don't know if I could continue to be here. So I really appreciate that. And that was Sunday school. Shout out to you. Jeez, thank you so much. That's it. That's Airwalk Talks. I need an outro. Airwalk Talks out, yo. No, that's too trying to be hip. That's too try hard. Peace, yo. Woo. No, I got it. This is the one. I mean, it kind of came from Tyler Perry's thing, but you know, just be breezy. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Catch me on the next episode. Support me, and I'll try to support you. Thank you.